PM Modi says freight corridor will be significant for Atmanirbhar Bharat, be it traders, farmers or consumers, everyone will be benefited. Adds that the earlier focus was only on increasing the number of trains with electoral benefit in mind, and focus was not on investing in track infrastructure. Big development in Tamil Nadu politics. Superstar Rajinikanth announces he won't be launching his political party, issues a 3-page letter citing health reasons. Six returnees from the United Kingdom kept in isolation after they were found COVID positive with the new mutant strain of the virus that causes COVID-19. Close contacts put under quarantine. Comprehensive contact tracing initiated for co-travelers, family contacts and others. As cold wave grips North India, Met Department forecasts a fall in minimum temperatures by 3 to 5 degrees till the 1st of January. And in cricket, India wins the Melbourne Test against Australia, chasing 70 runs target. Australia bowled out for 200 in their second innings. India levelled the series 1-all in the 4-match Test series. Let's begin the show with the big news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi flagged off a freight train between New Bhaupur and New Khurja of Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor. The 351 kilometers New Bhaupur-New Khurja section is built at a cost of 5,750 crore rupees, which will open new vistas of opportunity for local industries. Prime Minister stressed that new corridor will boost economic activity, create employment opportunities and reduce the cost of logistics.
गाड़ियों के लिए बनी इस प्रकार की विशेष सुविधाओं से एक तो भारत में यात्री ट्रेन की लेट लतीफी समस्या कम होगी। दूसरा ये कि इससे मालगाड़ी की स्पीड भी 3 गुना से ज्यादा हो जाएगी और मालगाड़ियां पहले से 2 गुना तक सामान की ढुलाई कर पाएगी, क्योंकि इन ट्रैक पर डबल डेकर यानी डिब्बे के ऊपर डिब्बा ऐसी मालगाड़ियां चलाई जा सकेगी। मालगाड़ियां जब समय पर पहुंचती और पहुंचेगी तो हमारा लॉजिस्टिक नेटवर्क सस्ता होता जाएगा। हमारा सामान पहुंचाने का जो खर्च है वो कम होने के कारण सामान सस्ता होगा, जिसका हमारे निर्यात को लाभ होगा। यही नहीं, देश में उद्योग के लिए बेहतर माहौल बनेगा, ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस बढ़ेगी, निवेश के लिए भारत और आकर्षक बनेगा। देश में रोजगार के, स्वरोजगार के अनेक नए अवसर भी तैयार होंगे।
Prime Minister also inaugurated EDFC's Operation Control Center at Prayagraj. The section will open new vistas of opportunity for the local industries such as aluminium, besides decongesting the existing Kanpur-Delhi main line. Prime Minister said that the Operation Control Center is also a symbol of the new power of New India and is one of the finest and modern control centers in the world. Prime Minister said that first Bhaupur goods train as the sound of New India.
खुर्जा भाऊपर फ्रेट कॉरिडोर रूट पर जब पहली मालगाड़ी दौड़ी तो उसमें नए भारत की, आत्मनिर्भर भारत की गुंज और गर्जना स्पष्ट सुनाई दी। प्रयागराज में ऑपरेशन कंट्रोल सेंटर भी नए भारत के नए सामर्थ्य का प्रतीक है। ये दुनिया के बेहतरीन और आधुनिक कंट्रोल सेंटर में से एक है और ये सुनकर किसी को भी गर्व होगा कि इसमें मैनेजमेंट और डेटा से जुड़ी जो टेक्नोलॉजी है वो भारत में ही तैयार की गई है, भारतीयों ने ही उसको तैयार किया है।
Prime Minister also highlighted that the dedicated freight corridor will become a large medium for building a self-reliant India.
हमने ऐलान करके भूल जाने वाली राजनीति को बदला। हमने रेल ट्रैक पर निवेश किया, रेलवे नेटवर्क को हजारों मानव रहित फाटकों से मुक्त किया, रेलवे ट्रैक को तेज गति से चलने वाली ट्रेनों के लिए तैयार किया, रेलवे नेटवर्क के चौड़ीकरण और बिजलीकरण दोनों पर फोकस किया। आज वंदे भारत एक्सप्रेस जैसी सेमी हाई स्पीड ट्रेन भी चल रही है और भारतीय रेल पहले से कहीं अधिक सुरक्षित भी हुई है। साथियों, बीते सालों में रेलवे में हर स्तर पर रिफॉर्म्स किए गए हैं। रेलवे में स्वच्छता हो, बेहतर खाना पीना हो या फिर दूसरी सुविधाएं, फर्क आज साफ नजर आता है। इसी तरह रेलवे से जुड़ी मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में भारत ने आत्मनिर्भरता की बहुत बड़ी छलांग लगाई है। भारत आधुनिक ट्रेनों का निर्माण अब अपने लिए भी कर रहा है और निर्यात भी कर रहा है।
Prime Minister lauded the efforts of Indian Railways during the COVID-19 pandemic. He underlined steps taken by railways to ensure equal opportunity in the nation.
मुश्किल में फंसे श्रमिकों को अपने गांव तक पहुंचाना हो, दवा और राशन को देश के कोने कोने तक ले जाना हो या फिर चलते फिरते कोरोना अस्पताल जैसी सुविधा देना हो, रेलवे के पूरे नेटवर्क का, सभी कर्मचारियों का ये सेवा भाव देश हमेशा याद रखेगा। यही नहीं, इस मुश्किल समय में रेलवे ने बाहर से गांव लौटे श्रमिक साथियों के लिए 1 लाख से ज्यादा दिनों का रोजगार भी सृजित किया है।
Prime Minister also stressed that politics should be kept aside from the development of the nation. PM further said that discussions should rely on speed, scale and quality of infrastructure.
देश के इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के उस विकास को राजनीति से दूर रखा जाना चाहिए। देश का इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर किसी दल की विचारधारा का नहीं, देश के विकास का मार्ग होता है। ये 5 साल की पॉलिटिक्स का नहीं, बल्कि आने वाली अनेकों पीढ़ियों को लाभ देने वाला मिशन है। राजनीतिक दलों को अगर स्पर्धा करनी ही है तो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की क्वालिटी में स्पर्धा हो, स्पीड में स्पर्धा हो, स्केल को लेकर के स्पर्धा हो। हम प्रदर्शनों और आंदोलनों के दौरान देखते हैं ये मानसिकता देश के इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को, देश की संपत्ति को नुकसान पहुंचाने की है। हमें याद रखना चाहिए कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, ये संपत्ति किसी नेता की, किसी दल की, किसी सरकार की नहीं है, ये संपत्ति देश की है।
You heard the Prime Minister speak on the occasion, but let's recap some of the major takeaways from that address of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He said biggest and most modern railway infrastructure project in India is becoming reality with the launch of a key section of the Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor. He also said that technology for this has been developed in India by Indians, be it management related or related to other aspects like data. Freight corridors will provide specialized tracks for freight movement. That has not been the case in India because on one track we saw that passenger movement was taking place as well as freight movement is taking place. But now that scenario is going to totally change. Freight corridors will make freight movement faster by 3 times compared to what is the situation now. And this will ensure that the goods that are transported are competitive within India and also globally. Freight trains will be able to transport twice the quantity of freight transported earlier. So much more freight, much more goods and commodities will be transported by the freight corridor trains. Double-decker freight trains planned. So you can imagine that the quantity is going to at least double with double-decker freight trains. So much more material can be transported in less time. Faster freight movement will reduce cost of transportation and commodities. So cost of transportation and cost of commodities will go down. And that is how the goods and commodities will become more competitive. Having said that, there's more the Prime Minister said. He said faster freight movement will attract investment and make goods globally competitive. So when there is faster freight movement, India will become more attractive as an investment destination. He said that local producers and industry will benefit from faster freight movement. So he said that local producers from all across country and industry will stand to benefit as raw goods will reach them faster and they'll be able to transport finished goods faster. Kisan Rail, which the Prime Minister launched the 100th version of yesterday, will benefit from the dedicated freight corridors, is what the Prime Minister said. So the Kisan Rail will also move on the dedicated freight corridors track. He also pointed out to the inordinate delay that had taken place during the UPA government after the project got approval in 2006. And next is what the Prime Minister said, drawing a contrast between no work happening in the UPA regime and a lot of work happening in the NDA regime. He said, till 2014, for 8 years, no freight corridor line was laid. But once NDA government under PM Modi came to power, then in 6 to 7 years, 1100-kilometer lines are set to be laid. So that is a comparison that the Prime Minister drew. And now our correspondent Arun Sharma, who's been tracking this story extremely closely, is joining us. Arun, are we looking at a major overhaul and transformation of rail freight infrastructure in the country, with work now starting at great speed and a lot of work already having taken place on the dedicated freight corridor?
Absolutely. So yesterday we saw that Prime Minister Narendra Modi flagged off the 100th Kisan Rail, which is giving a bigger market and, of course, a faster access of their farm produce to various other markets. Now, today it was all about the freight corridor as to how can the freight movement in our country can be, given a major push. We know this fact that this freight corridor projects were given approval in 2006, but till 2014, not even a single kilometer of freight could be built. Most of the things were, were hanging in the files only. But it was the Prime Minister's office that was constantly monitoring. Via Pragati meeting, all these projects were constantly monitored by the Prime Minister. And that's the reason we are today witnessing that the Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor and the section of it that is from New Khurja to Bhavpur, it is a reality today. We know this fact that as of now, when we talk about the main line of the Indian Railways, they're working on the capacity of 150% of their original capacity. That means on same route, the passenger trains are also operational, and on the same route, the freight trains are also being operationalized. So the idea is to provide a dedicated freight corridor, so the manufacturers in our country, can get an access, an easy access, and a seamless access, and of course a faster access for the transportation of the goods. We know this fact that Uttar Pradesh is a main a central point, if you look at this way, as far as this entire Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor is concerned.
Yes.
And Uttar Pradesh is also running an initiative called One District, One Product. That means marketing, branding, and producing one product from one district of Uttar Pradesh. So these kind of initiative of dedicated freight corridor will also give a major push to Uttar Pradesh's One District, One Product, because of the manufacturers, the local manufacturers of Uttar Pradesh and all those states that are on this Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor, they'll be getting a bigger market. We know this fact that Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor starts from Punjab, ends in West Bengal. It also transfers from Haryana, Bihar, Jharkhand, Uttar Pradesh. So all these bigger states will be getting a big market, and of course an interstate movement will become very much cheaper and economic in nature, because logistical cost is something that any of the merchant or primarily a business person or an MSME or any kind of manufacturer would like to save upon. And because of this Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor, we know this fact that logistical cost will come down, and that will give a big market. And of course, as far as exports are concerned, we'll be in a position to export at much competitive rate.
Yes,
and that's the reason it will also give a major push to the Atmanirbhar Bharat. So yes, indeed, it is because of the mega initiative by the government, be it the airways, be it the railways, be it the highways, be it the waterways. The government is focusing upon providing connectivity in all these spheres so that infrastructure development can truly happen by providing or by giving a major push to the connectivity project. So indeed, it's a game changer as far as Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor is concerned.
Yes, Arun, the Prime Minister also inaugurated an Operation Control Center in Prayagraj of the Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor. Is it state-of-the-art, one of the most modern in the world and also environmental friendly?
Indeed, and on top of that, it is soul of this entire Eastern dedicated freight corridor. We know this fact that after the inauguration of this section of 351 kilometers between New Khurja and Bhaupur, we know this fact that close to 1900 kilometers of Eastern dedicated freight corridor will be developed, and Prayagraj will be that one monitoring hub. Prayagraj, that one integrated place whereby entire monitoring of these trains will take place. We know this fact that 120 trains can be operational at the same time on the same day. As far as this entire Eastern dedicated freight corridor is concerned, 13,000 tons of capacity is something that these freight trains will be carrying on a daily basis. We know this fact that as far as the train speed is concerned, till now the freight trains were running at a speed of 20 kilometers, 15 kilometers, 25 kilometers. But now we have a dedicated freight corridor in place. So to monitor the high speed freight movement, it is very much important to have a smart, technologically upgraded and a first state of the art monitoring center in place. And Prayagraj is that place where the monitoring of all these trains will take place. We know this fact that as of now the freight trains primarily, that Prime Minister even that inaugurated today, the flagged off today, a 1.25 kilometer long train, the speed that they can achieve is approximately 80 to 100 kilometers. So you can understand the fact that how faster the logistical movement will take place. It will be economic in nature, and that's the reason the state of the art, Asia's biggest monitoring center, is in place in Prayagraj. It is also give employment to the local youth over there. It is also going to give a major push to the infrastructure. Last but not the least, it's a technological marvel. It is India's own technology that India has developed, and this again gives a major push to Atmanirbhar Bharat in technological aspect as well. So on one side, railway infrastructure, we are becoming Atmanirbhar. So on the technological aspect as well, this Prayagraj center is a technological marvel that's been designed, innovated by India. So yes, it's indeed a state-of-the-art technology that India is having as of now as far as this OCC or Operational Control Center is concerned.
Arun, the Prime Minister said that in the next few months, 1,500 kilometers of Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor lines would have been laid, and no work in terms of lines laying was done during the UPA government. Is there a timeline that the government is following for this project?
Well, absolutely. And that's the beauty of this government, that ambitious targets are being set. As I mentioned earlier, that this project of the freight corridors were given approval in 2006, but not even a kilometer of freight was built. So there are two corridors in place as of now. One is the Eastern Corridor, which starts from Ludhiana, and it's the Eastern Corridor primarily. It's a 1,900 kilometer long Eastern Corridor that starts from Ludhiana and of course ends at West Bengal. Similarly, there is a Western Corridor as well, which is close to 1,500 kilometer long. That will be connecting Dadri, and from Dadri it will be going towards the JNPT port in Mumbai. So again, a greater connectivity. Dadri is going to be a major, a connecting junction as far as Eastern Corridor and Western Corridor is concerned. So by the time India is looking to become New India, by the time India is looking for Atmanirbhar Bharat, the way these Eastern and Western corridors are working in place, and the way the 351 kilometer section of New Khurja to New Bhaupur was, built up and infrastructure was laid for these section, it is very much likely that by 2024, when India is looking to become Atmanirbhar, self-reliant, a new India is what India is looking to become. By that time, most of the section of Eastern and Western Corridor will be in place in front of India.
Thank you so much, Arun, for those updates. Let's now move on to our developing story. The Government of India has taken cognizance of the reports of the mutant variant of SARS-CoV-2 virus reported from the United Kingdom and put in place a proactive and preventive strategy to detect and contain the mutant variant. A total of 6 samples of 6 UK returnee persons have been found to be positive with the new UK variant genome. All these persons have been kept in a single room isolation in dedicated healthcare facilities by respective state governments. The close contacts have also been put under quarantine. Comprehensive contact tracing has been initiated for cold travelers, family contacts and others. Genome sequencing on other specimens is going on. From the 25th of November to the 23rd of December, about 33,000 passengers disembarked at various Indian airports from the United Kingdom. All these passengers are being tracked and subjected by states and union territories to RT-PCR tests. So far, only 114 have been found to be positive. The situation is under careful watch and regular advice is being provided to the states. And now for analysis on this, Dr. Raman R. Gangakhetkar, Dr. C.G. Pandit, National Chair of ICMR, is now joining us. Welcome, Dr. Gangakhetkar, to Midday Prime. How do you look at the efforts that the centre has put in collaboration with states and union territories for detection, surveillance and for testing as well as contact tracing of people who have come in from UK into India?
I think this is an excellent comprehensive effort that the government has put in. The government has ensured that those who arrive from UK, those who have arrived in last 15 days from UK, all of them would be screened. They have also ensured that those who are screened and turn out to be positive, they would be isolated. The contact tracing essentially would be done. This will ensure that, and on top of it, you have almost 7 days ban on travel from UK to India with respect to those airlines as such. The result is every effort is being made to ensure that the variant does not come into India. The only issue that was worrisome, which led to all these kinds of action, was it is claimed that this variant perhaps tends to have 56% more transmissions that could occur. But we don't need to worry at this time point. The reason is very simple. Our first wave has just started to decline very strongly. And if we continue to follow our COVID appropriate behavior, then perhaps the second wave, which also would mean that if this variant becomes a predominant variant in the country, would not arise if we follow these precautions.
Dr. Gangakhetkar, is it also the responsibility of people to report to local authorities or state authorities or say ICMR or the Union Health Ministry if they have returned from UK or if they've come into contact with UK travellers and if they think that they are not well?
Absolutely. I think it is extremely vital that people should also feel that it's not only the government which is responsible to maintain health of people in the country, but it is also our own responsibility. We should report ourselves to the health ministry so that contact tracing, appropriate contact tracing can be done. Those who require testing would also be tested and then isolated. I think it is essential because this message has to go a little strongly to my mind. The reason is we keep on hearing about news stories that are coming up that 5 or 6 people tried to evade and they went to different places without getting tested or isolated. Now, this is not a good thing to happen. I think all of us should act as responsible citizens and help the government in containing the spread of this infection.
Dr. Gangakhetkar, we hear about mutations of viruses over and over again. For the common cold virus also, we know that a lot of mutations have taken place and perhaps vaccines have had to be modified in the past. But as far as this strain is concerned, what would you say about the impact that this could have on COVID-19 vaccines? A lot of vaccination the world over is on. India is also about to start the COVID-19 vaccination drive. Will there be any impact on vaccines or vaccination?
Probably not. No, one thing which we have to understand is there is a mutation that has occurred in one of those sites in the gene which encode for a spike protein. Now, if only one mutation has occurred, you don't expect that vaccines will not work. The reason is very simple. All the vaccines which we have shortlisted, these vaccines are the ones which will have complete gene sequence of the entire spike region, spike protein as such. And the result will be, even if there is a small change in one of those sites, it's not going to affect, because the other protein components which lead to immune response would still be there to ensure that our body reacts favorably against this particular infection and ensure that we will be protected as such. So there is no reason to worry with respect to the vaccines that we are likely to use in India.
Dr. Khedkar, even in the case of SARS-CoV-2, a lot of mutations have taken place, but this particular mutation was said to be significant because of the higher transmissibility that you spoke about. Are mutations normal, and when do they become significant?
Yeah, mutation is a normal phenomenon. As I keep on saying, one of the things which we have to recognize that human beings and the battle with the organisms is a common thing that has been happening for centuries. Each one of them want to survive. Naturally, you will find that even the organisms would like to adapt to a situation that perhaps would arise because of my immune response or discoveries related to drugs. So mutations are bound to occur. But these, or not all these mutations are likely to lead to severe disease, because the organism also understands one thing, that if I kill the human being by being more virulent, then it's also a death sentence for that organism. It will not be able to find different bodies in which it can live. Therefore, more often than not, it increases transmission efficiency, but does not lead to increase in virulence. Now the issue that tends to come, why are we worried about this mutation? So far, if you see globally, there have been many mutations that have occurred in SARS-CoV-2 also. But these mutations which were occurring were not occurring in the spike protein. Spike protein is the most important component which has been found to be immunogenic, and this entire spike protein gene is part of the vaccine, and therefore there is a worry that N501Y mutation which is occurring in the spike protein, can it cause a problem? It is not going to cause a problem. But if you accumulate more mutations in the spike protein, then there could be a risk that it can affect the vaccination program. As of now, there are only two major important mutations which have been noted so far. One is the one which we talked about, and there is a gene deletion at 69/70 site. Now that's something which is little worrisome, but none of them, as of now, appear to threaten any vaccination program anywhere in the world at this point in time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ganga Khedkar, for joining us with your inputs and analysis. Let's move on now and give you some update on COVID-19 from across the country. India has scaled a significant peak in the fight against the global pandemic. The country has reported a trend of sustained decrease in the number of active cases. India's total active cases have fallen further to 2,68,581. India's active caseload stood at 2.63% of the total positive cases. 24,900 people recovered and were discharged in the last 24 hours. The total number of recovered cases has crossed the 98 lakh mark and stood at 98 lakh 7,569. The gap between recovered cases and active cases that is steadily increasing presently stands at 95 lakh 38,988. The difference in the new recoveries outnumbering new cases has also improved the recovery rate to 95.92% today. This difference is continuously growing as recoveries outpace the daily new cases. Meanwhile, rigorous testing has been going on across the country. According to ICMR, 16 crore and 98 lakh and 1,749 COVID-19 tests have been conducted till the 28th of December. On Monday, 9 lakh 83,695 tests were conducted. The Ministry of Home Affairs has extended the guidelines for surveillance, containment and caution up to the 31st of January 2021. While there has been a continuous decline in the active and new COVID-19 cases, there is a need to maintain surveillance, containment and caution, keeping in view the surge in cases globally and the emergence of a new variant of the virus in UK, says the Home Ministry. Accordingly, containment zones continue to be demarcated carefully. The prescribed containment measures should be strictly followed within these zones. COVID-19 appropriate behavior has been promoted and strictly enforced, and standard operating procedures have been prescribed in respect of various permitted activities, followed scrupulously. With the target to roll out the COVID-19 vaccination drive in India in the beginning of 2021, first phase of dry run for coronavirus vaccination is being conducted in 4 states. They are Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Punjab and Assam. 2 districts in each of these 4 states will assess their preparedness in 5 different types of medical settings, and that includes district hospitals, community and public health infrastructure and healthcare centers, urban and rural areas and private facilities. Dry run is aimed at testing the planned operations and laid out mechanisms for COVID-19 vaccination in these states. It will provide insights into any gaps or bottlenecks so that those could be addressed before the commencement of the actual drive. Let's now move on to National Prime. Actor-turned-politician Rajinikanth, who was set to make an important announcement regarding the launch of his political party on the 31st of December, has made a U-turn. The Tamil superstar has now announced that he will not join politics. Making the announcement today, Rajinikanth cited his health condition as the reason for not taking the formal political plunge. Rajinikanth said in a statement posted on his Twitter account that he sees as a message from God what happened during the shooting of his upcoming film, Anathi, and the subsequent health care. Rajinikanth was hospitalized in Hyderabad last Friday after his blood pressure fluctuated. When doctors found nothing alarming with the superstar's health condition, he was discharged on Sunday. And now correspondent Philip Matthews joins us from Chennai for more on this. Philip, is it now pretty clear with the statement put out by Rajinikanth on his Twitter handle that he will not be formally entering politics, and the launch of the political party that was expected to happen formally on the 31st of December won't happen now? Philip, are you with us? Philip, are you with us? So the story that we are tracking at this point in time is that Rajinikanth has announced that he will not be contesting polls and he will not be formally launching his political party, and that was a statement that he had put out on his Twitter handle. A 3-page statement was put out by Rajinikanth on his Twitter handle, and there was a lot of speculation on his political entry ahead of Tamil Nadu Assembly polls, but it now turns out with that message that he has put out, or is that statement that he's put out on his Twitter handle, that he won't be launching his political party formally anytime soon. Let's move on now. Union Earth Science Minister Dr. Harshvardhan virtually inaugurated the newly established Indian Met Center in Ladakh today. The new Met Center will provide all information relating to weather and climate for the entire Ladakh region, including far-off places like Changthag, Nubra, Zanskar, Zojila and Dras. Union Minister also launched a Digital Ocean, a first-of-its-kind platform for ocean data management, and contributes to the Digital India program to transform India into a digitally empowered society and knowledge economy with a vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Joining me is Union Minister Dr. Harshvardhan to talk about 2 important initiatives by the ministry. The first was IMD's Met Center in Ladakh, as well as the Digital Ocean initiative by the ministry. These 2 initiatives are considered to be path-breaking effort. What do you have to say about first about the Ladakh?
I think this is going to be a major achievement, not only for IMD but for the people of Ladakh also, because they face so many adverse weather events, avalanches. Center set up there will give them weather forecasts for 3 days, 12 days, and even for long range forecasts like 1 month, and also for some of these tourist destinations there. So it's going to be a very aggressive and very positive exercise for the people of Leh and Ladakh, and it goes in tune with the overall vision of the Prime Minister, because last 1 year we have seen that so many developmental activities on so many fronts have happened in Jammu and Kashmir as well as in the district of Ladakh.
Digital Ocean, sir, also is going to be another great effort from the ministry.
Digital Ocean that they have created, which will compile all the related information from all the relevant sources within the ocean and within the laboratories from all across the country, and more particularly around the rim of the oceans. I think this information is going to be very, very crucial and very, very useful. And when this whole information is collated together and made available and accessible to people and the scientists and the younger brains in one single go from one place, that's going to be the real scientific and technological use of data.
Appreciate your time. So that was Union Minister Dr. Harshvardhan telling us about the two initiatives. The first was IMD Center at Ladakh as well as the Digital Ocean initiative from the ministry. With camera person Arki, this is Tapush Bhattacharya, DD India, Delhi.
According to the Met Department, under the influence of western disturbance, scattered rainfall or snowfall is very likely over Jammu, Kashmir, Ladakh, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand on Tuesday. Cold wave to severe cold wave condition is very likely at some places in Uttarakhand, Punjab, Haryana, Chandigarh and Delhi, with fall in minimum temperatures by 3 to 5 degrees Celsius during the next 3 days. The Weather Department also forecast dense to very dense fog in Punjab, Haryana, Chandigarh, the national capital Delhi. The IMD has issued a warning till the 1st of January as North India will be under the spell of cold wave conditions for the next few days. Delhi recorded a minimum temperature of 3.6 degrees Celsius at 8:30 a.m. on Tuesday. The Indian Met Department has said that due to an active fresh western disturbance, cold wave conditions in Delhi will persist for the next 2 days. From the 1st of January, the temperature will rise in the national capital.
कोल्ड वेव कंडीशन दिल्ली में और एनसीआर में हमारे पास बनी हुई है। साथ ही साथ जो पंजाब, हरियाणा और जो वेस्ट यूपी के इलाके हैं वहाँ पर भी कोल्ड वेव की स्थिति बनी हुई है। जो ये सिचुएशन है हमारे पास, जो वेस्टर्न डिस्टर्बेंस पास हुआ है उसके बाद विंड डायरेक्शन में हमारे पास चेंज हुआ है, तो नॉर्थ वेस्टर्ली विंड्स आ रही हैं, जो कि अभी रिसेंटली आप कहते हैं जम्मू कश्मीर और हिमाचल प्रदेश में बर्फबारी हुई है, वहाँ से हमारे चल के आ रही है, इसलिए तापमान में इतनी गिरावट आई है और इसका असर 2 दिन तक रहेगा।
And our correspondent Tapas Bhattacharya now joins us. Tapas, should people not expect any respite from freezing temperatures over the next few days as well, particularly the residents of North India?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, in the next couple of days, I expect the temperature to fall by at least 2 degrees Celsius in the northwest as well as in the central India. There are 3 things that are expected in the next couple of days. The first is because of the departure of the western disturbance, there is a vacuum that has been created, and the northwesterly winds have come. And that because of that there is a fall in the temperature because of the vacuum that the western disturbance, because of its departure, has created. There is a vacuum, and because of that the northwesterly winds bring with it the cold wave conditions. Now the cold to severe cold wave conditions are expected in the next 3 days at least, especially if I may say over Uttarakhand, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, Chandigarh, Delhi obviously, and also at around Rajasthan and Saurashtra. So cold to severe cold wave conditions are expected in the next 3 to 4 days in these parts of the country. Now the third and the important part is that in the next few days we will see dense to very dense fog. So one expects that tomorrow, day after tomorrow till 31st, one expects that the Delhi national capital as well as the northwest India will be engulfed in dense to severe dense, very dense fog in the whole area. After that, one expects the situation to improve. So maybe in the first week of the January the situation may improve, but Delhiites and people who are thinking of partying in the new year brace up and pack themselves up for more clothes, because it's going to be a chilly winter.
Thanks, Tapas, for that. Union Minister Thawarchand Gehlot in a press conference has informed that historic changes have been made in scholarships given to scheduled caste students pursuing higher education. Under this scheme, the central government will contribute about 60% and the rest 40% expenditure will be borne by the state. At least 4 crore students will be benefited by the scheme.
60% केंद्र सरकार देगी और 40% राज्य सरकार वहन करेगी, और इसका परिणाम ये होगा कि हम जो 60% अमाउंट देंगे वो जो वर्तमान अमाउंट दे रहे हैं 1100-1200 करोड़, उसका 5 गुना होगा। अभी हम एक साल में 1100-1200 करोड़ रुपए देते थे, अब एक साल में 5500 से लेकर 6000 करोड़ तक की राशि केंद्र राज्यों को देगी और 40% राज्य मिलाएगा। ये कुल राशि का एवरेज हमने जोड़ा है, 5 साल का ये योजना 5 साल के लिए है, 25-26 तक।
Union Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank has said that CBSE will announce dates for class 10th and 12th board exams on 31st December at 6 p.m. In an exclusive conversation with TD News, Education Minister said that students are anxious and confused with regard to the exams, and so exam date announcement will clear the air. He said that students will get adequate time to prepare for exams.
छात्रों से, अध्यापकों से परामर्श करने के बाद अब हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि हम 31 दिसंबर 2020 को नए वर्ष की पूर्व संध्या पर सीबीएसई बोर्ड की परीक्षाएं कब होंगी उन तिथियों की हम घोषणा करेंगे, ताकि छात्रों को, अभिभावकों को और अध्यापकों को इसकी सूचना मिल सके और जो उनकी मन में तमाम प्रकार की उलझनें हैं, जो एक भ्रम की स्थिति बनी रहती है, वो स्पष्ट हो सके और छात्र पूरी तैयारी का उनको समय भी मिला है। समय
Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri is addressing the media. Let's listen in.
Question and answers that we will circulate some basic data to you beforehand. I see from my friend the Rajiv Jain that nodding that believe that has been done. I don't intend to make a introductory statement. I just will give you a few bullet points and then we'll open it up. I'm sure you have interest in most of the work that we have done, and my colleagues and I will try and respond as fully as we can. But just one comment on 2020. You know, when you refer to 2020, it's supposed to be perfect vision. When we think back on the year 2020, I don't know what you want to describe it as. I have a term which I won't share with you. But we've learned a lot of lessons. We've learned what a major disruption can be. But I'm confident that out of all this, we have come out much stronger. I mean, there were things that I could never imagine that we would be able to take up as a challenge and really go up. I'll share that. But some of the points, 5 or 6 points in terms of how aviation has proved its resilience, and about 10 or 12 things which we have utilized COVID as an opportunity. We were able during COVID to introduce total contactless procedures at airports. Now nearly 100% web check-in is taking place. And I think that even in times when COVID is just a think of the past, that's a great achievement. New experiment in fares. The fare bands have tried to balance the interests of travelers as well as that of the airlines. A new protocol for air travel, sanitization, personal protection, hygiene have been given prime importance. Air cargo has been given due importance. We are almost at last year volumes in terms of air cargo already. Providing level playing field to our carriers, both in terms of passengers as well as cargo vis-a-vis other competitors. Udan Operations are back to normal with revised norms and new modes, including now we have helicopter and seaplanes. We have utilized COVID as an opportunity, rationalization of airspace. I'll go into more details when you ask questions. But earlier, 60% of our available space was utilized. And I think this has resulted in a very major reform. Seamless transfer of PPP airports to the private sector. New policy for flying training schools. The DGCA is to go totally online. eGCA project rolled out. Rationalization of taxes on MROs. New building height regulations around airports. New drone regulations. Leasing and financing of aircraft from India being enabled. Thrust on increasing our share in international cargo. Air bubbles established. Disinvestment of Air India. Multiple bids have been received. And Digi Yatra progressing. So these are just some bullet points I can state with a degree of satisfaction. Now we are open for questions because, and during the process of responding to those questions, we'd be very happy to elaborate on some of these points.
13.
From India Today. My question is,
so there you heard Union Civil Aviation Minister Hardeep Singh Puri give highlights of 2020 as far as work done by Civil Aviation Ministry is concerned. He said that there was a new paradigm of work under the Civil Aviation Ministry with due importance being given to sanitization, total contactless procedures becoming reality, and multiple bids for something like privatization of Air India were also received, and those changes will be built upon in 2021 as well wherever needed. We'll take a break at this point in time in Midday Prime. We'll be back with more.
9 to 5 job, अरे 5 to 9 job, भाग दौड़ all the time job. The roaming वाला job, the deadline वाला job, और are you living in the market वाला job?
जिंदगी में मौके ही मौके हैं। अपनी मर्जी से जॉब चुनिए और अपनी इच्छा अनुसार कमाइए। बन जाइए LIC एजेंट। ये है जॉब से बढ़कर, ये है करियर इंश्योरेंस। अपना बॉस खुद बनिए, बन जाइए LIC एजेंट। अब लाइफ सेट है।
समयोचित उपाय न किए जाएं तो शीतलहर से फसलों की तबाही और नुकसान हो सकता है। अत्यधिक ठंड और घने कोहरे की वजह से फसलों पर कीटों का हमला, फंगल रोग, शीत घाव और झुलसा रोग हो सकते हैं। मौसम विभाग की अग्रिम चेतावनी और कृषि परामर्श सेवा आपकी फसलों की सुरक्षा योजना बनाने में मददगार हैं। शीतलहर के दौरान सिंचाई हल्की रखें और खेत को गर्म रखने के लिए रात भर धुआं बनाएं। निम्न सुरंग तकनीक सुरक्षा प्रदान कर सकती है। पॉलीथीन शीट ढककर पौधों को ठंडी हवा से बचाएं। शीट पौधों को छूनी नहीं चाहिए। ढकने से पहले मिट्टी को गीला करने से श्रेष्ठ संरक्षण मिलेगा। दिन के समय पर्याप्त धूप मिले और मिट्टी को गर्म रखने के लिए खेतों को जंगली घास मुक्त रखें। अधिक सहायता के लिए किसान कॉल सेंटर का संपर्क करें और अपने स्मार्टफोन पर मेघदूत ऐप डाउनलोड करें। सतर्क रहें, फसलों को सुरक्षित रखें। NDMA एवं IIPHG द्वारा जनहित में जारी।
Welcome back in Midday Prime. It's time for news and updates from the world of business. My colleague Abhishek Jha now joins us with Business Prime.
Thanks, Manoon. And to start with this business world, the first news is from the market, how the market is doing. The Indian benchmark indices were trading in the green, but off the record high. Scaled earlier in Tuesday's early morning deals, Sensex hovered around 47,410 levels today. Earlier in the day, the index had risen to as high as 47,715. The Nifty 50 index also dipped below the 13,900 mark. The Nifty sectoral indices were trading mixed, with the Nifty Bank Index up by 1% and leading the gainers in the broader markets. The S&P BSE mid cap and small cap indices were trading flat. In overnight trade on Wall Street, US stocks indices reached record closing highs. Talking about the oil prices, it has settled up as the sentiment in the crude market has switched from a sell all strength to buy the dip after a bunch of positive triggers started from the Brexit deal, vaccine optimism and positive US crude inventories data. Brent for the February settlement rose 8 cents to $51.37 a barrel on the ICE Future Europe exchange. Crude's shaky start to the week reflects the concern over more travel restrictions as a new mutation in the coronavirus spreads globally. Spot gold prices in India is still hovering around rupees 50,220 and it has increased since yesterday's rupees 50,210. Also, it was above the average gold prices observed this week, that was rupees 49,865 rupees by 0.71%. The Indian spot gold price as of today is rupees 50,220, which grew by 0.02% in global markets. Gold prices moved higher today after a fall in the previous sessions. On MCX, gold futures prices in India jumped by 0.19% to rupees 50,858 per 10 gram. In the previous sessions, gold was up by 1.29% or about rupees 96 per 10 gram. On MCX, silver futures remained stable at rupees 68,560 rupees per kg. Indian rupee has extended the early gains and trading higher at 73.36 rupees per dollar amid buying seen in the domestic equity markets. It opened higher by 6 paise at 73.44 per dollar against previous close of 73.50. The dollar languished nearly a 2.5-year low on Tuesday with demand for safe havens flagging as US lawmakers pushed forward with a COVID-19 relief package. The Income Tax Department has extended for the financial year of 2019-20 till December 31 to ease the burden on people in view of the novel coronavirus pandemic. January 31st is the due date for furnishing the income tax returns for taxpayers whose accounts required to be audited, and December 31st, 2020 is the due date for furnishing various audit reports under the Act, including the tax audit reports and report in respect of international or specified domestic transactions. January 31st, 2021 is the due date for the small taxpayers or income tax assessees with tax liability up to rupees 1 lakh rupees. Over 4.23 crore taxpayers have filed their income tax returns for the assessment year 2020-21. This was all in today's business segment, and going back to Munmun.
Thanks, Abhishek, for that. Let's now move on to news from across the world. COVID-19 pandemic is a wake-up call, experts from the World Health Organization said during the final news briefing on Monday, and said the scientists are learning now how to do things in a better way. The executive director of the WHO's Health Emergencies Program, Mike Ryan, said that the already severe pandemic can be followed by other infections. The comments came as some parts of the world face the mutation of coronavirus. The European Union has said that the distribution of initial 200 million doses of the COVID-19 vaccine developed by Pfizer and BioNTech will be completed by September 2021. Meanwhile, EU spokesperson has further said that talks were underway to agree the delivery of a further 100 million doses, which are optional under the contract sealed. Most EU countries began inoculating healthcare workers and vulnerable people on Sunday with the Pfizer vaccine, which is the only authorized vaccine in the 27-nation bloc. Three new cases of COVID-19 infections were reported in Australia's most populous state of New South Wales, which is otherwise on a downward trend. In Sydney, the cases in its northern beachside suburbs have risen to 129. Amid this, the authorities have asked people to be on high alert. As part of restrictions, the administration of Sydney has scaled back its New Year's Eve celebrations. And it's time for stories from the world of sports. My colleague Sujitra joins us with Sports Prime.
Thank you, Munmun. And the big news is India's remarkable win. India defeated Australia by 8 wickets, and with a day to spare in the second test.